In the second episode of the experimental beta, we decided to turn Beta City into a megacity. In this one, it's time to make that happen, to complete the city and its enormous stone fortress and outer palisade. Let's get to it! Although the fortress is already designed, it's going to require massive amounts of materials, workers and time to be built. So let's hit the gas and push the city to its highest level in order to make such a castle possible. While we stockpile construction materials, we'll keep urbanizing the rest of the city plots, which will also produce resources, wealth, and the workforce needed for the castle. I can already tell you we'll have more than 800 workers building the fortress day and night for years. On these outer plots, I initially thought about building estates with fruit trees or gardens, but since the land has good fertility, we'll make crop fields instead. So we'll need to build a farmhouse to have workers managing those fields. Besides being productive, these fields have both aesthetic and strategic value, because generally you don't want to surround the area near the castle with buildings. You want to keep it clear so enemies are exposed and our defenders can spot them, and in the case of archers, shoot them easily from the walls. This clear area around fortresses is typically called the glacis. And with the fields we can preserve the glacis while also turning it into productive land. Let's connect these roads. On this inner plot, however, we will build houses with fruit trees. Some of these plots turned out quite small, which isn't ideal for fruit gardens or vegetable yards, since their output scales with the plot size. So we'll remove this road and double its area. Much better. This plot doesn't convince me either, so let's slightly change the street layout here. Wonderful. A few more workers for the lumber industry. We've got 16 blocks of cut stone already. Very slow for now, so let's assign a few more workers. Here we'll make another block of outer plots where we will place vegetable gardens, since the city will keep growing and we'll need more veggies which we'll also export to generate wealth. This little hill here had gone unnoticed until now, but honestly it's begging for something meaningful to be built on it. We already have a church, but one here could look even better. That's going to look fantastic. And here, without thinking too much, I'm recreating some gardens similar to the ones we built in Rodin Pass, which I think turned out spectacular. I suspect they will look amazing. We'll see once the church is built and the gardens start blooming. And now we keep urbanizing MEGACITY. Let's plant flags as it looks beautiful when it blooms. Bandits keep daring to steal our goods. Let's get them back. Notice that now our spearmen have access to the shield wall formation, something only some mercenaries had before. And I love it, because it's the ultimate defensive unit and this formation is just the cherry on top. If I liked the spearmen before, now I love them. Crushing victory as expected. More wealth for the people. We plant wheat and rye, which will grow wonderfully on these plots. Here we'll plant apple trees, pear trees and quince trees. Another round of homes with vegetable gardens, probably the most valuable backyard in Manor Lords, considering how accessible it is early in the game. Our sustainable forest is not that sustainable. We keep preying on the surroundings, so let's double down on reforestation. Too wide, better to divide it with a small path. While the new houses are being built, let's check on the AI. It keeps developing, little by little, more than I expected in this beta, but still far from what an average player can do. The vandalized AI, on the other hand, isn't recovering. I'm not sure if it's because it's incapable or because it's collapsed logistically and can't get materials to rebuild everything. A message pops up saying some families are cold, but we can ignore it, the markets are full and we've got plenty of fuel reserves. Let's lower the taxes a bit more, they're already low, but let's see if we can keep approval above 80% and speed up population growth even further. A few more stables, since our ox population will keep increasing. More vegetable gardens, more joy. We've got some clay, so let's make a few roof tiles to improve the church among other things. Now yes, we're planting apple trees, pear trees and quince trees. A bit of every vegetable to have variety. Eat your veggies, kids! Full of minerals, vitamins, antioxidants and dietary fiber, which, as I explained in another video, is premium food for your gut bacteria, your microbiota. Remember, happy microbiota, happy human. Let's start producing roof tiles. More animals for the city, and we'll also start producing honey now that we can get it without development points or limits. Another great addition in my opinion. Let's keep going with another round of houses. As you can see, in these episodes I'm going full throttle, constantly developing the city. In the Rodin Pass series though, I tend to make more thematic episodes focusing on specific aspects each time, so those serve a bit more like tutorials. We're running short on logs, so we'll have to wait. There it is. A few more workers for reforestation, but still not enough. We upgrade the well. More wonderful gardens. And these small leftover plots will turn into beautiful gardens. Let's move this workshop, and why? Because it's time to build the city's main square and expand the market. Something worthy of Beta City's final result, which will be truly imposing. We'll make a square similar to the one in the northern district of Rodin Pass, but more organic and adapted to this city's street network. There's a tool lying there that blocks what we want to build. Let's wait a bit to see if they pick it up, and if not, we'll force them to by constructing a nearby building that needs it. And here I detect what seems to be a beta bug. Apparently, the cut stone isn't being transported to the warehouse but stays in the stonemason's workshop. That's an issue because once the workshop is full, meaning it holds 50 units of cut stone, it can't produce any more. Still, the fix is simple. If we need 300 cut stones, we'll build 6 masonries and rotate the workers until all of them are filled with stone. Anyway, I assume it's an easy bug to fix and will be sorted out once the beta leaves the experimental phase. Or maybe it's intentional, for realism, assuming those stones are too big to be stored elsewhere, similar to how it works with logs. We'll see. In fact, while editing this video, I found the answer. It seems it was just a temporary bug, because later in the game I checked again and I did have cut stone in storage. Mysteries of Manor Lords. Well, the tool still won't disappear. We could force it by building something that needs it, but there's a lot to do in this episode, so we'll take the easy route. And look at that, by forcing this plot because of the tool, we've ended up with quite an interesting house. We've got 100 stone blocks out of 297, not bad. But logs and planks aren't increasing fast enough, so we'll reinforce the wood industry. We will ease off firewood and charcoal production since we're totally stocked. That way, more trees will be available for the rest of the lumber industry. We reinforce warehouses and granaries since the market's logistic capacity is at its limit. More foresters. As you have seen, in nearly all my cities, I like creating a density gradient. Larger plots on the outskirts and smaller, denser ones towards the center, which actually is how most real human settlements develop. We upgrade the church, which will now be the city's main and most important one. As for the previous one, it's a bit close and somewhat redundant, but I'm fond of it, so I'll keep it. Let's free some workers to speed up the church construction. Here comes the workers, let's enjoy the show. I don't know about you, but this church on that elevation, surrounded by gardens, makes me about 5% less atheist. But still atheist. We boost the lumber industry again, it will be crucial for building the castle. We've got almost half the stone and a third of the planks, but we're still short on logs. Now that the stubborn tool is finally gone, we can finish urbanizing this area. And it's time to design the central market, worthy of a megacity. let's simplify this part since the plot is too small for what I had in mind. Perfect. We dismantle the old market so new stalls can start appearing. And there it is, the new square with its market. You will see how spectacular it looks once all the stalls are up, the gardens bloom and the surrounding houses reach level 3. We'll see it later in this same episode. Another thing worth starting already is the central tree-lined avenue, which will take a while to grow, as trees need time to mature properly. I'm unsure where to place this forester's hut, which will mainly handle the trees for another square I have in mind, so before that let's urbanize this central area. Since we are exporting more and more, a third trading post is worth it. A few more houses in this peculiar plot. Now I'm looking for a good spot for a kind of urban park, something green but especially full of trees. A society disconnected from nature is a disaster, and we're not letting that happen in MEGACITY. And the game's whims are wonderful. By pure chance, there's groundwater running beneath this area, and my surprise was huge. A well in the center of that park, just perfect. Those of you who watch Rodin Pass know I can spend half an hour perfecting gardens, but in this episode I'm going all in, and honestly, it doesn't look bad at all. Sometimes perfectionism isn't worth it. The difference between spending 5 minutes and 20 isn't that big. The problem is, sometimes you just can't help it. I would keep perfecting it, but let's call it good and keep the OCD monster chained. Now I'm designating the working zones for the different foresters. This one will take care of this section here. Since the designated zones must be circular, I have no choice but to set a large radius, but since this one will cover both the avenue and the park, it will have support from another forester that is still under construction. We reassign a few workers. And we go to hunt down some bandits as they've stolen our clothes. How dare they try to dress for winter? There's no excuse for being a bandit as MEGACITY is a dream city, prosperous and welcoming for everyone. Being a bandit here is unforgivable. We go all in against them, they don't stand a chance. Time for another round of backyards since the city keeps growing and we need to keep reinforcing food production, which never goes to waste, it's either needed or sold. One last boost for the stone industry and soon we'll have all we need. More horses for the trading posts, and remember, they reach full efficiency with 2 families and 2 horses. Sure, you can add more families, but that's like running a delivery company with 4 workers and only giving bans to 2 of them. The other 2 are gonna hate you. Now that we have the 3rd Forester's hut, let's make sure they cover the areas we care about, the main avenue and the urban park we created earlier. We've got a small food issue, not quantity but variety. We need more protein sources since the only one we produce in large amounts is fish. And it's not enough, so we'll expand backyards with more animals. The thing is, once again, the wood industry is struggling. We could fix it by clear-cutting the forest, but let's try to avoid that. Also, remember, this city you're seeing is being built in year 8. That's a lot of development in a short time, and cities don't rise out of nowhere. They need tons of wood. A big group of bandits is visiting. Good, we'll use them to warm up. There's a group heading toward the pastures and ignoring our troops. What they don't know is that our sheep are trained to kill. See, they're already running from the ship. And now let's buy pigs and goats like crazy. We need more protein than a bodybuilder. While meat and other protein production stabilizes, we'll stop exporting fish. On the other hand, we'll make up for it by selling other foods we have in surplus. Speaking of food, we haven't made the most of our wheat and rye yet, and we already have flour available. So let's start baking bread. We'll boost plank production again, which still is not enough. Meanwhile, the sustainable forest is finally recovering, thank goodness. And the city levels up again, though it doesn't help much since there are no more development cars available in this experimental beta. Stone and logs are doing great, but planks are still lagging. The first young trees are starting to appear in the urban park and along the avenue. We build a butcher to process meat from the excess sheep population. If we had salt mines, we would make sausages too, but if we have to import salt, it's not worth it. On another note, I noticed that sheep meat production has no limiters, meaning we can't set a minimum number of animals before stopping lamb slaughter. This could be a bug, or maybe the butcher manages it automatically at a sustainable rate, which I doubt. We'll see. We built a few more chicken coops, and those chickens are going to have some amazing views. Let's beautify the first chapel we built, which has served us well in keeping approval high. and broadly speaking, the city is now complete. A few small details remain, which we will finish during the rest of the episode while the fortress is being built. And we're almost there. Basically, we just need to double our plank production and we'll be ready to start building the castle. As always, we're duplicating the houses with backyard gardens and fruit trees. We've got a surplus of textiles and clothing, so it's worth starting to monetize that. Some trees are beginning to appear along the avenue, but there's still a long way to go. We'll need even more oxen available to build the castle in a reasonable time, so we're expanding the stables once again. We're also building a brewery, since we'll soon start upgrading several central houses to level 3 to give the city center a more majestic look. In a normal series, we would be replacing archers with crossbowmen, but in this one, without the Baron threatening us with his armies, there are no real dangers, so there's no need. And the AIs on the map don't have any offensive capability for now. We'll start processing leather, since we've got plenty of hides stored up. And we'll give one last push to plank production by assigning some dedicated oxen. Now that's the pace we need. Since we already have all these stone blocks, we can start selling any surplus above 300 units. More money for the city. And look at those numbers! In the blink of an eye we've doubled our planks, so we'll soon be able to start the fortress. We'll focus reforestation efforts along this stretch of the avenue, which is progressing quite slowly. More workers for the markets. And to finally wrap this up, we'll temporarily limit plank usage to reach the required amount and start building the castle. We're increasing ox imports to 20, so we'll have an entire army of animals available to build the fortress, which is about to begin. We'll also pause plank exports for now. Another round of pigs and goats to boost our protein production. Now, yes, we finally have the massive amount of materials needed for our beautiful multi-level fortress of stone and wood. I check that everything's in order and add the tax office. Looks like I'm missing one more tower. Nah, simpler is better. And since we've come such a long way to make this castle possible, let's add a few details to make it worthy of MEGACITY, and of all the effort we've put in. This network of inner roads gives it a more developed feel. And while we're at it, let's add a couple of stables. Once upgraded, they look great inside the castle walls and make the courtyard feel less empty. We should just keep in mind that anything built within the limits of the manor's walls becomes unusable. But the stables are no problem since their main value is storing animals, so we don't really mind if we can't access them anymore. Those simple stables next to the tax office makes the courtyard look much more complete. And finally, we hit commit. To speed things up, we'll free a lot of workers so that a good part of the city focuses day and night on building the fortress. We've got 25 families, around 75 people, working exclusively on the fortress, and that number will keep growing throughout the episode. Look at that traffic of oxen and workers. What's that claim? Well, looks like the AI can actually claim territories, which is good news. And in this series, we're not interested in expanding regions, so they can keep it. That way, we can also see if the AI is capable of developing new regions on its own. But for now, it seems they haven't sent settlers there yet, probably not capable of that just yet. The materials are arriving, but this is going to take a while. So, in the meantime, we'll polish the last urban details of the city. At this point, it's about time we get a proper city center with top-level housing. So, let's get the beer flowing to make that happen. What a sight, seeing the heart of the city come to life. We reinforce the markets and add some overstock to avoid resource shortages. The goal is to stretch approval just a bit more, keep it above 80% and make the population grow even faster. There's the gate, functional, though not really supported by anything. We double the houses with vegetable gardens so they can better manage the vegetable production. It's curious that the first things being built are the walkways. They will probably change them. 5 more oxen, and that will probably be the cap. We don't want a full-blown zoo either. Almost all materials are now in place. Look how that walkway is being built, attached to nothing, since there's not a single stone of the wall visible yet. Another round of upgrades in the city center. Beta City is going to look majestic. Next section of walkways. And we take a street level look at the city center. There's a swarm of workers everywhere, but they seem to be just wandering around, since progress is painfully slow. The game's running at maximum speed and I'm accelerating the footage 3 times, and even then it's still this slow. We get a visit from some bandits. Let's deal with them. The members of the retinue may be strong, but not very smart. It's already hard enough to move in metal armor, let alone while wading through water. Alright, bandits dealt with. But some were still taking a bath, apparently. Now that we've used up hundreds of planks for the castle, we can resume exporting the surplus. Hey, look at that! They've built the entrance tower. And here they're aligning wall materials, though not much is visible yet. I never really paid much attention to how the beehives looked. And I think I just saw bees, which makes sense, but still surprised me to see such tiny entities in the game. And yes, those of you watching on mobile probably can see them, but PC viewers surely spotted them flying around. Technically, construction is quite advanced, but the castle still looks skeletal, and I'm starting to suspect that in the final stages everything will pop up at once. That will likely be changed later, since it doesn't really fit the organic construction style of a stone castle. And in general, the building process in this game looked very natural and realistic, but not this one. Even though visually I'm not convinced by how the structures grow, it does make sense that it's a long and costly process. Stone castles could easily take years or even decades to complete, so it's fine that it takes several in-game years to build. Still, it would be great to see a more organic gradual construction of the walls instead of this strange all-at-once behavior we're seeing. The city center already looks fantastic, and the tree-lined avenue is finally living up to its name. The park could use a bit more forest density, but it's improving. And here's where I realize we've really messed up. We completely forgot about tool production. So we need to fix that immediately and get tools however we can. We'll import some emergency tools along with raw iron to start crafting our own right away. To compensate for the cost of iron and tools, we'll keep expanding our exports. In this case, large shields, which have a good market value. And to make sure it doesn't happen again, we'll permanently assign workers to the forge and blacksmith and import iron indefinitely. But to avoid going broke, we'll limit everything to a stock of 50 units across the entire production chain, meaning we'll only buy iron when it's needed to restock that amount. And this looks like it's about to be finished. So I switched to cinematic mode since I suspect stone buildings are about to start popping up of nowhere. Well, not yet. First, the outer palisade is being developed. We'll clear out some forested areas, though we'll leave a few trees here and there since they look great. The palisade gates, unlike the stone entrance towers, don't have doors. And now yes, the castle enters its final construction phase, so let's watch it happen. The imposing garrison tower appears. And the manor house and other perimeter towers start to materialize. Just as I suspected, the walls appear instantly, marking the end of construction for this massive fortress. And of course, we're going to put it to the test. The gate seems to be working, though there's a backed wall that our troops can wall through. I would love to test the castle against some bandits, but now that we actually need them, none show up. Let's see if our archers can actually stand on the wall walkways, something we've been dreaming of since the game first launched. However, the first attempt fails, the units behave oddly and don't climb. Alright, now it seems to work, and on the other tower they've managed to get up. So, although it's still a bit buggy, the functionality is there. Archers can stand on the walls and most likely shoot from them too. even though they kind of float magically, they can reach other walls. The gate really does block passage. Too bad about the glitch wall, otherwise I would like to test if the inside truly becomes inaccessible. We can also peek into the interior of some fortifications. Nice touch. After several more tests, we confirm that the walls are indeed functional, still very buggy, but they already offer some promising views like this one. Let's take a break from the castle and give the finishing touches to other parts of the city. For example, the central plaza. After some thoughts, I've decided to pave it completely. I don't know about you, but I love it. And with that castle in the background, it looks absolutely stunning. Now my idea is to get someone to attack our castle to see if the archers really can shoot from the battlements. I check diplomacy to see if there's any way to provoke the new AIs or the bandits. But nope, the AIs on this map are completely harmless for now. For once, I actually missed the Baron. So I'm quite sure that in the next series, once the beta leaves the experimental phase, we'll activate every hostile option available, Baron included, since right now the map's AI pose no real threat. Still, I didn't want to end the episode without confirming that the archers can shoot from the walls. So I decided to lure some bandits even if it meant dragging them from the other side of the map. I'll spare you the tedious process, but here's the result. On one hand, I brought some bandits from another region, and on the other, just for fun, I claimed an AI region to see what would happen. And indeed, the AI is capable of using its tiny retinue of 5 soldiers. Not that it made any difference, but hey, it's something. Now that the bandits are approaching the walls, we'll see the archers in action. And there they are, archers firing from the stone walls in Manor Lords. Still quite buggy, but technically it's now a reality. Just imagine when we get siege ladders, catapults, melee fights on the walls, and archers raining arrows from the battlement. Full-scale sieges everywhere. If the game continues in this direction, we'll get there eventually. Here we see other bugs like this tower which got buried. And over there, 2 towers simply vanished. But honestly, just witnessing the archers fighting from the walls make it all worth it. And of course, it ended in victory. Probably the most one-sided battle I've ever had in Manor Lords, 18 bandits against a massive multi-level fortress packed with troops. They were good subjects for the experiment. As for the AI region I claimed, I'm not sure if their small retinue fought our spearmen, but either way, we won. And we've taken over the enemy's town, which is rich in regional wealth, but on the other hand, it's very unbalanced in resources and has low approval. That tells us that the AI still isn't a great manager just yet. We'll leave our new region behind since this series ends here, but let's take a moment to enjoy what we've built in MEGACITY. A majestic castle for a megacity with breathtaking views. In a very promising experimental beta for what could become one of the best city builders with a military component of all time. And while we take one last walk through MEGACITY, let's share a few final thoughts about this beta. First of all, the developer's effort is clear, and judging by the content of this new beta and everything currently in development, it's obvious the game has very high ambitions. However, adding such ambitious content also brings challenges. For instance, we've confirmed that the new stone castles still need a lot of polish to work properly, and their construction process doesn't yet seem fully implemented visually. There are also new graphical glitches that weren't present in the stable version, and it's not rare to encounter a few resource logistic bugs like the stone not being stored properly or other mining related issues some players have reported on Reddit. As for the AI on the map, we've seen what it can do. Nothing too surprising, but a decent first step considering this is the first version we've tried. It builds decent mid-level towns, though it's not a great manager yet, and militarily its capability is basically zero. Remember that poor AI that got crushed by bandits. But if this is only the starting point, I'm really curious to see how much it improves after another year of development. On the other hand, the new progression system looks promising, with its development cards that have noticeable effects to specialize each region. But we've only seen a fraction of it so far, so it's too early to judge. The new affinity system, however, already works nicely and is a great addition, along with the increased diversity of both material and food resources. All of this will extend the game's lifespan as a city builder, especially as a sandbox, since even in this beta you can already design and build organic, functional and realistic cities limited only by your imagination. And everything runs very smoothly and optimized, at least I haven't noticed any performance differences compared to the stable version. However, in terms of gameplay loop, we're still roughly in the same spot as in the pre-beta version. The endgame remains rather empty of challenges or motivation, since once your city reaches a certain level, there are no competitive enemies or threats to really test your city's capabilities, especially militarily. That's something that will hopefully improve once the AI becomes truly competent and can eventually face us properly. We'll see if that day comes. Either way, based on everything I've seen, I still trust the dev team. It's clear they're putting in passion and care, and with every update the game is slowly but steadily moving toward becoming one of the best games of its genre. For me, Stronghold once held that title, spectacular and unmatched in its time, though its sequels were, well, a missed opportunity. Will Manor Lords be the new Stronghold and define a new era? Either way, on this channel we'll be following it closely. And with this review we conclude our adventure exploring the experimental beta, going out in style with a megacity and an impressive castle that let us truly evaluate its new content. So, this miniseries ends here, but our journey in Manor Lords continues. We'll put the experimental beta aside and return to the stable version, to our beloved Rodin Pass series. For those who don't know it yet, it's a series with a bit of a tutorial touch, where we narrate with classical music in the background the growth of a huge multi-region city from scratch on the High Peaks map. We're urbanizing the entire valley and fortifying it from end to end, meaning the whole city will eventually be protected by palisades and fortresses once the series is complete, and Rodin Pass won't end just anyway. I'm preparing a very special episode for its finale. And with that, I would love to read your thoughts about this mini-series and the beta, and see you in the next episode of Rodin Pass. See you soon! Manor Ridiculous! And with this review, we conclude our adventure. I'm preparing a very special episode. Amazing. We'll put the experimental beta aside and return to the stable version, of course, where else?